Okay guys, I'm back. We're gonna do something very different on this channel today. Very different. So this is going to be, number one, it's a viewer request. And it goes back to my days in the military. So one of the things I've done, and I've had a few different jobs, specialties in the military. MOS, military occupational specialty, what we call it in the Army, and AFSC, Air Force Specialty Code, what we call it in the Air Force. Like I said, I've had a few different ones. My job in the Air Force, at the point where I retired, I left, basically I was an instructor, and I gotta say, I was paid to be the expert in weapons and tactics. That's what I was. Above and beyond what my actual AFSC job was, I was a dude who was selected to be the guy who worked in the shop, who taught everyone else, this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is what the bad guys do, this is how they do it, and this is how we counter that stuff. I was even selected, and this is, you guys might not understand, but as an enlisted man, it's a pretty big deal to attend the United States Air Force Weapons School. Now, a lot of people know about Top Gun, because they had a big movie. Not a lot of people know about weapons school, and this is not a brag video. This is just I'm setting this up so that you understand when I talk about what I want to talk about. I talk about it with a level of not so much authority, but a level of education and knowing what I'm talking about here. It's almost like giving you a bit of my resume. The weapons school is kind of like a top tier graduate level course. The weapons school is an amazing environment to be in, and you learn things there that you will never learn anywhere else in the world. And one of my proudest moments was graduating the weapons school. And if you need some proof, I got pictures. So a big portion of my job was to be Tyrion Lannister. What do you do here? I drink and I know things. That's basically it. And then I, deploy out and rain death and destruction on the enemy. With that in mind, I get asked a lot about things people see on the internet. And I'm going to tell you right now, things you see on the internet are not true. They are false. If you don't read things about weapon systems in an actual vault, in something with a security classification on the top of it, guys, it's probably not true. If it is on the open source internet, you've got a 50-50 chance of what you're reading is complete and total BS. And you can buy these fancy books in Barnes and Nobles or whatever with all these numbers and stats and wingspan and height and length and all these fancy parameters about airplanes and all that. Anything that we call open source, stuff that you can find out without a security clearance, I don't know. A lot of it is just flat out untrue. It is, because it's it's all the best information is reserved in secret or top secret SCI, or in another thing that most people don't hear about, SAP, Special Access Programs. That is a really cool thing to be read into on a lot of things. But there's just a lot of BS, and then some stuff is actually true, but it's like extraneous. And the way we can tell when somebody is just acting like they're an expert and they've memorized some book that grandma got them from Christmas is when they start trying to tell us about, well, the wingspan of this plane is blah blah blah, and we're like, dude, nobody gives a shit. Because does the wingspan of an airplane affect certain things? Sure, it does when you're designing the plane. But if I am planning a tactical operation, and is the wingspan of the plane or the length of the plane or any of that going to affect the way that I operate with it tactically in a battlefield? No, I don't give a crap. And I know somebody out there's going to be like, well, what if you need to make it fly through a canyon with just inches on the side? No pilot is ever going to do that with his airplane. That's movie stuff. We don't do stuff like that. It is unsafe. War is inherently unsafe. We don't need to add any extra element of ridiculous testosterone-fueled unsafety to it. So we don't do stuff like that. That's just, anyway, So there's a lot of videos that you'll watch and you can try to learn from. There's some videos where you can learn some good stuff. Most videos that I watch online, I can't even get all the way through. Watching a war movie with me, guys, is terrible because I'm going to spend the whole movie, instead of talking about, oh, that's cool, telling you why every scene is inaccurate from a military standpoint, because I'm a big jerk. So why are we doing this? I know I've been babbling. A viewer sent me a video that they thought was really cool. They asked me to check it out, and knowing my background, said, "Hey, could you just tell me, like, how good is this video? How accurate is this video? I want your reaction to it." And I said, "You know what? I'm going to give a reaction to it. I'm going to do this for everybody because I want to illustrate this." And this is a video that if you watch it, it seems professionally done, and they've got lots of fancy numbers in here. And I'm not even saying the numbers might not even be that wrong. There is some wrong stuff in this. But it is a comparison of the A-10 Warthog, which is actually, the proper name is the A-10 Thunderbolt II. We just call it the Warthog. And the Su-25, which is built by Sukhoi. It was the Soviet answer, which, by the way, look up the YA-9, which was the competitor to the A-10 that lost, and then look up the Su-25 and see how similar they look. And you're like, wow. But the Sukhoi, or the Su-25 Frogfoot is the name that NATO gave to it. The Russians didn't name it that. We get into that. And it's a comparison between the two. And so I'm going to give my reaction throughout this video, and I'm going to tell you really, like, from somebody who literally is, I mean, again, the weapons school creed there is humble, credible, approachable. Right? I'm trying to stay. I'm not trying to toot my own horn when I say I'm an expert, but I'm just trying to let you know, like, why am I correcting this stuff? Why am I doing this? Because my job was to be the expert in the room during mission plannings and stuff, to know what these aircraft are capable of doing and to know what I'm talking about, which is why I'm doing this. So let's watch this, okay? And even something that looks so impressive, I'm going to give you my true, honest reaction to this stuff and try to educate you a little bit as to why you can never trust this open source stuff. Open source stuff? Open source stuff. Okay. All right, here we go. I have no idea who Grid 88 is. I'm not bagging on them or anything. This is just the video that was linked to me.
One is America's A-10 Thunderbolt, known as the Warthog, and the other is Russia's Su-25, also known as the Frogfoot. Both aircraft were designed for the sole purpose of dedicated close air support.
Well, yes and no, so I'm going to pause right here. The A-10 is an amazing close air support platform. It was also made to kill tanks because the Soviet and the Warsaw Pact in the Cold War had a 10-to-1 advantage of us. So yes, it is designed to be the ultimate close air support package, but within that, it is a tank-killing monster machine. And a lot of people like to say it was only sole purpose as close air support. It's really designed to kill tanks on the battlefield. It does that while providing close air support. It's part of a 1-2 punch. The Army got the Apache, the Air Force got the A-10, but both of those, their primary function in the world is to kill tanks. That's why the A-10 has the gun it has. But we can get into that later.
These tank busters have remained highly effective in various battlefields since their inception. Today in this video, we'll be pitting America's A-10 Warthog against Russia's Su-25 Frogfoot and try to determine which aircraft is better.
Which is stupid, because they would never compete against each other. Like, they don't go head to head.
Our notification squad.
The A-10 to me, while a lot of people call it ugly, is a beautiful airplane. It is designed for its purpose perfectly. I love it. And I kind of like the Su-25 too. It's got a nice look to it. And like all Russian airplanes are actually pretty ruggedly designed.
Number 1. The Su-25 is quite a bit smaller than the A-10, but has a top speed of 606 miles per hour. That's over 167 miles per hour faster than the A-10. Both aircraft can carry a wide array of bombs, rockets, missiles, pods, and fuel tanks under their wings. But the A-10 can take off with almost 7,451 more pounds load than its Russian equivalent. The 30mm cannon on the Su-25 is significantly less impressive due to more limited rounds than the A-10, but it still packs a killer punch. The Su-25 is smaller, faster, making it a more difficult target. Both aircrafts are heavily armored and considered the safest and most feared close air support jets in the world.
So far, we're doing good. That's true. The Mujahideen in Afghanistan and people that the Russians have fought fear the Su-25. And, you know, one of the things that we don't want to have to come up against in any kind of ground war is close air support from the Su-25. They mentioned the top speed of the Su-25. It is faster. They're going to mention its top speed, though, in relative to something else, too. Now, whenever you talk about, by the way, when we're mission planning, top speed, max altitude, all this stuff, that means nothing to me. I don't want to know its top speed. I want to know its combat capability speed, because I don't care how fast the plane can go under ideal test conditions. I want to know what the plane is going to do loaded for combat in its optimum combat out. Max speed, A-10 never flies its max speed. The A-10 doesn't perform well at its max speed. The A-10 performs very, very well for its job in a comfortable envelope at a certain altitude bracket, at a certain speed bracket. So when you guys, anybody out there is looking at these kinds of things and watching these videos and they start talking about max this and that, realize that's under a test condition. That's not how this plane performs in combat. And as a mission planning expert, as somebody that's putting together a strike package, or somebody that's considering calling in a plane for close air support for my troops, I don't give a shit what the max speed is, because the pilot's never going to fly that in combat. The max speed is not good for combat either. You think any pilot is going to be accurate in any way providing close air support, especially at danger close conditions, and being able to differentiate good guys from bad guys, little specks on the ground at 600 knots? No, that's a bunch of crap.
Number 2. The A-10 is powered by 2 turbofan engines, generating 18,130 pounds of thrust combined.
Does anybody in combat give a crap how many pounds of thrust the engines create? Here's a quick answer. No. Does it affect the tactical planners on the ground? No. No. Just no. Look at everything on the screen now. Ferry range, okay, maybe I care about the ferry range, but you know what? That means how far the plane can fly. Basically, a ferry range is taking off and flying out before it falls out of the sky. We're really good at aerial refueling. Combat radius is how far away from a, and by the way, don't, again, well, like I said, don't trust numbers you see here, is how far it's going to fly out, do its mission, and return. But you know what we don't talk about in the military? We talk about range in terms of fuel, and we talk about range for mission planning, but I don't really want to know a combat radius without one key thing. How long is that thing going to be able to provide support for troops? So this is all great. This is a guy reading crap he got out of a book somewhere and making a video that sounds all fancy like he knows what he's talking about. We have a brevity word, a code word called playtime, and playtime is expressed in hours and minutes, right? So if playtime is 1 plus 30, that means that guy has 1 hour and 30 minutes. At a combat radius of 290 nautical miles, by the way, and this doesn't, we always do everything in nautical miles, not statute miles, an A-10 can usually give you between 1 and 2 hours time on station, possibly 3. You know what else changes your combat radius? How much are you carrying, of course, and what altitudes are you transiting at? Again, the higher up you fly, the lower air density the air is, the easier it is for you to go, unless you're in an A-10, in which case you have the sweet zone that they always want to transit in. Everything on this is meaningless, completely meaningless. Nothing you're seeing here bears any relevance to any actual combat capability, which is all that we should care about. This is just like fancy stuff for some aircraft encyclopedia.
The engines allow the aircraft to reach a maximum speed of 439 miles per hour.
At which it never actually flies in combat.
2,580 miles. The aircraft has a combat radius of 290 miles. The A-10 weighs around 24,959 pounds and can take off with a maximum weight of 50,000 pounds.
Also sounds really impressive, right? So you can do the math and figure out exactly how much bomb tonnage that gives you. Okay. The problem is you can't always divide that evenly, depending on what weapon system you want, across the hard points on the plane. So again, this is the craziest part. So they're going to talk about the climb rate. Does that really affect combat? No, it doesn't. And somebody might say, well, you need to know how fast you can climb. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't matter, because climb rate is also affected by what's under the wings, how much engine power you have, humidity and air density. Planes fly crappily on a hot, humid day. A nice, dry, cold air day is perfect, beautiful weather for flying. And then we get to this service ceiling of 45,000 feet. Okay, again, under some test condition, an A-10 might have climbed up to 45,000 feet. You will never, in your life, except under the most bizarre conditions, see an A-10 flying at 45,000 feet. I'm going to tell you a real-life story. We had an A-10 running out of fuel. There was no tanker. This is in Afghanistan. No tanker to get to him right now. He had to fly from where he was providing close air support, and there is something called bingo. And bingo is the amount of fuel required to get from where you are to your home base to land. This guy went over his bingo because he was providing support to troops on the ground. He was basically going to run out of fuel. He asked permission to fly higher than normal. His higher than normal was 23,000 feet. And he said, requesting climb to flight level 230, which is how we expressed that. And I was dumbfounded, because these guys wanting to transit higher than like 15 to 16,000 in Afghanistan is mind-boggling. And I said, can you? Like, that was me on the radio. Like Hog 5-3, can you fly that high? And he's like, well, I don't want to, and my engines won't like it, but I'll give it a shot, because, he consumes less fuel at higher altitude. He ended up getting as high as about 26,000, but you know what? The plane did not like that. So when you see like service ceiling 45,000 feet, I dare you to find an A-10 flying at 45,000 feet. They are useless for their mission at 45,000 feet, completely, because they have nothing that's going to attack them. And it's stupid. It's just stupid. See how angry I'm getting? And at 6,000 feet a minute, if they were going, you do the math, if they were going to fly to 45,000 feet, how long would it take them to get to 45,000 feet? Number one. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And number two, why? Why would you fly an A-10 at 45,000 feet? It doesn't make any sense. Your A-10 would be, the engines on the A-10 are optimized for, like I said, that excellent performance down low to the ground. They would be choking and almost suffocating at 45,000 feet.
With a climb rate of 6,000 feet per minute, the aircraft can reach a maximum altitude of 45,000 feet. On the other hand, the major driver of the Su-25's performance is its two engines.
So, let's just review that. The A-10 is powered by two turbofan engines, blah, blah, blah. On the other hand, the major driver of the Su-25's performance is its two engines.
The engines are capable of generating around 19,860 pounds of thrust. These are meant to drive the jet to a maximum speed of 606 miles per hour. With a maximum range of 620 miles, the aircraft can combat within the radius of 470 miles. The Frogfoot weighs around 21,605 pounds and can take off with a maximum weight of 42,549 pounds. With a climb rate of 11,400 feet per minute, the jet can reach a maximum altitude of 23,000 feet.
None of these numbers make sense, by the way.
The Su-25 is a bit faster and more agile than the A-10. However, the A-10 can fly about 22,000 feet higher than its Russian counterpart.
But
The A-10
it's never going
has a
to.
couple of more...
It physically can it one day on a test track, maybe. And what is more agile? Do they mean because it's faster? I doubt that a Su-25 can turn inside of an A-10's turn radius. This guy's just talking out of his ass.
...miles range than the Su-25 and can carry more weight. However, the Su-25's climb rate is double that of the A-10.
So what?
Number 3. Survivability is an essential attribute of any successful ground attack aircraft.
That is true.
The A-10 excels in this category due to its heavy armor.
That is true.
For example, the engines are located a bit higher on the rear fuselage. The aircraft's wings, fuselage, and tail shield them against attacks from most angles.
That is
Flight
true.
Controls operate with dual hydraulic systems, including a mechanical one as a backup. Heavy armor ensures that A-10s are immune to small arms fire, which is useful when flying between 50 and 500
No,
feet
resistant,
above ground
yes.
level. The cockpit is situated inside a titanium-armored bathtub,
That is true.
capable of withstanding a direct hit from 23mm rounds. Modern A-10 pilots have the advantage of night vision imaging systems, enabling them to operate effectively in night missions. In contrast, the Su-25 is a comparatively smaller and faster jet, which makes it a difficult target from ground fire. However, it is less of a problem for guided missiles. The Frogfoot is able to reach supersonic speeds when flown clean.
Okay, so that's another thing. He said, able to reach supersonic speeds when flown clean. Clean means no armament on it. We're going to be flying Su-25s into combat with no armament on it? So what's the point? What does it matter? This is, again, when you're watching these kinds of videos, people will throw all sorts of things in there to make themselves sound really smart. And I don't know, maybe... By the way, I had downloaded this video so we can watch it without the ads. The first ad was 1 minute and 30 seconds into the video, and there's like 20-something ads in this. What is the point of how fast it can fly clean with no armament? And again, that's under very specific conditions. The plane itself is not a break-the-mock airframe. You wouldn't want to do that. Do you know? I mean, to do that, you burn so much fuel. Anyway. But that's a key thing to listen for when flown clean.
And the airframe can withstand 6.5 Gs. With a higher speed and maneuverability, the Su-25 can defeat man-pads launched from closer distances. The Su-25 is not as resistant to damage, but is more difficult to hit. The skill of a pilot and ground crew trying to bring it down is more of a factor. The jet is equipped with flares, chaff jamming pods, multi-spec...
They just invented a new piece of equipment. Chaff jamming pods. Okay, so the A-10 is also equipped with flares. There is no such thing as a chaff jamming pod. There is chaff, and it doesn't jam anything. Chaff are literally strands of like a mylar, like aluminum foil type thing, cut at different lengths that is ejected into the air that blocks radar waves so that it can hinder a radar's ability to lock onto an aircraft or maintain a lock. It's not a jammer. A jammer is an electronic device that actually uses waves, electronic waves, to mess with the radar. A chaff jammer does not exist. By definition, a chaff, not chaff, jammer would be a device that jams the chaff, which you can't jam because it doesn't radiate a signal. Moron.
Decoys, laser-based infrared jammer, and a dual infrared missile approach warning system in the modern Su-25, which provides a 90% defeat rate against any infrared missile.
I'm not even going to go into that. Warning systems do not equal defeat rates. Warning system equals awareness for the pilot. The pilot's ability to incorporate that and react is what equals your defeat rate. But whatever.
Number 4. Laser is the primary means of targeting, aiming, and weapon guidance for both aircraft.
That is complete and utter bullshit. I don't know where that came from. The A-10 can carry now, modern A-10s, the A-10C can carry a laser targeting pod. It can carry the Sniper or the Lightning II targeting pod, but it is not at all the primary aiming system of the aircraft. They made that up. They completely made that up. That aircraft is aimed. We'll get. Oh my God, I'm getting so pissed off.
The A-10 is equipped with improved communications, inertial navigation systems, night vision, fire control, weapons delivery systems, and target penetration aids. The head-up display indicates airspeed, altitude, and dive angle on the windscreen.
Every heads-up display does that.
Laser tracking pods under the fuselage assist the A-10's primary gun.
The Pave Penny. Oh my God. Okay, so the AAS-35 Pave Penny has nothing to do with the main gun. The Pave Penny is simply a little pod that looks for a laser designator reflection and tells the pilot somebody is signaling you to look over there. That's all it does. It does not connect to any other systems. It does not slew weapons. It doesn't guide weapons. It doesn't shoot a laser beam out. It is what we call a laser spot tracker or a marked target seeker. It is an awareness tool only. And you know what? We don't even really use it anymore. Because for the most part, JTACs, TACP, troops on the ground have transitioned to infrared spot pointers because you can see them very clearly through night vision goggles and infrared night vision systems. And they don't interfere with the laser designation of different laser-guided weapons. So the Pave Penny has nothing to do with the gun. The gun does not need Pave Penny to work. It doesn't feed information to the gun. The gun is completely different. It used to be a guy on the ground, or maybe another aircraft, would shoot a laser beam and tell the A-10 pilot, look at that over there. And they would use that before the A-10 had all sorts of fancy communications devices to steer the plane around. Nowadays, we have something called TATL-J or Link 16. Now, dude on the ground, I can say, there is a target I want you to hit. I can put into the data link, which is this fancy communications network. It's almost like being in our own internet or intranet in combat. I can put a point in there. Boop. It shows up on the pilot's screen. Pilot can auto-navigate, tell the jet to steer towards that. And it shows up on his vertical display. He can have the plane automatically go to it without the need to switch optics or anything else like that. Data link, radio communications, that's how we communicate. The Pave Penny is ancient technology, but apparently, according to this guy, it assists the gun. The gun, by the way, is aimed completely visually through the heads-up display with the pilot looking at a target.
The aircraft also has armament control panels, infrared and electronic countermeasures to handle surface-to-air missiles. Similarly, the Su-25 has an integral laser system for ranging, tracking, and targeting.
The laser rangefinder simply tells the pilot how far away a target is. It does nothing to help track a target. It does nothing to designate a target. Laser rangefinder just prevents the pilot from firing a weapon when the weapon doesn't have the range to get there.
With HUD designation. In terms of pods, the aircraft has infrared and optical systems for both day and nighttime operations. The aircraft is fortified with satellite navigation radar warning receivers.
Holy shit! Fortified with satellite navigation radar warning receivers. They have just invented newer equipment. Because satellite navigation radar warning receivers are two totally separate items. Satellite navigation, otherwise known as GPS, I think we all know what that is. A radar warning receiver is an entirely different black box in the cockpit. Let's pretend that all of you out there are flying an airplane, and I'm on the ground trying to shoot you down. I have a radar. Now, if in your cockpit you have a threat library that includes the frequencies that my radar uses, your radar warning receiver, when my radar flashes over your plane, goes off. In really good ones, it will tell you what the frequency is or what type of system is associated with it, and it will give you a direction, it'll tell you the signal strength, and it alerts you to the fact that my radar is looking at you. In some of the old Russian ones, it basically gives you a light in a quadrant, and it's kind of like Somebody's checking you out, dude. Like, old Soviet RWRs suck. We have some really, really good ones that give the pilots a lot of information. It builds pilot awareness. Now, based on that, depending on what systems you have, some planes have automatic jamming protocols that can go into place, and the appropriate jam frequency is picked and directed at that radar, and hopefully prevents the radar from locking on. Sometimes it automatically launches chaff, and that will prevent the radar from locking on. Sometimes it's all the pilot's choice. Sometimes the pilot doesn't want the enemy to know that we can tell, that they're tracking or anything like that. But there is no such thing as a satellite navigation radar warning receiver. Doesn't exist.
Sophisticated attack systems, which allows for more precise targeting. Number 5. The A-10's most dominant feature is its primary weapons, the 30mm 7-barrel Gatling gun. The aircraft is literally designed around the gun.
That is true. That's the GAU-8 Avenger.
Disabling a main battle tank from a range of 4 miles.
Yes, sometimes, but not exactly. You got to get a lot of parameters correct to get it. Yeah, okay.
The cannon can fire a variety of ammunition, including armor-piercing and uranium-depleted rounds. The gun magazine can hold 1,350 rounds. Depending on the target, the pilot can select a firing rate of 2,100 or 4,200 rounds a minute.
You guys want to know something? The armor-piercing rounds are depleted uranium rounds.
The A-10 has 11 hardpoints, including 8 pylon stations under both wings, while the remaining 3 are fitted under the fuselage, with a total payload capacity of 16,000 pounds. The A-10 can carry up to 10 Maverick air-to-surface missiles. The aircraft can also be fitted with pave penny laser guidance and electronic support measures.
We just talked about the pave penny. It's not laser guidance anything. It's barely electronic support. I think that they were trying to say that it can carry the pave penny, comma, it can carry a targeting pod, which is even more than laser guidance. It's used to give the pilot a close-up of the ground. It's got great optics. And it can carry jamming pods. They'll usually carry the ALQ-184 jamming pod.
The jet can also be armed with Sidewinder missiles, having a speed over Mach 2.5. The A-10 is capable of deploying a wide range of unguided ordnance as well. In contrast, the Frogfoot is fitted with 11 hardpoints capable of carrying various rocket pods, bombs, and missiles.
Contrast usually means difference. So the A-10 carries 11 hardpoints. In contrast, the Su-25 has 11 hardpoints.
The bomb loadouts include a variety of general-purpose munitions, cluster bombs, and other special-purpose weaponry. The aircraft's most impressive weapon is its 30mm cannon, capable of firing 3,000 rounds per minute. The Su-25 has a nose-mounted laser rangefinder that assists with target acquisition.
No, it doesn't. We already said this. The laser rangefinder simply says the distance to the target. You have to have already acquired your target to put a laser on it to know how far away it is. It does not acquire a target for you. It doesn't help in target acquisition. Target acquisition literally means seeing the target and saying, I'm grabbing that target, that's it. That's already done by the time you're shining a laser at it.
The cannon's high explosive and depleted uranium armor-piercing shells to find their mark. For devastating strafing runs, the Su-25 can also be armed with wing-mounted 23mm cannon pods.
It never does that. A Su-25 armed with 57mm unguided rocket pods, though,
the A-10 clearly has a better
incredibly
gun,
deadly.
although the cannon is an inherently ineffective weapon against armored vehicles and requires the aircraft to flow dangerously close, except for the 55mm S-5 rocket with a smaller warhead. The Su-25 carries more unguided rockets, such as the 122mm S-13, the powerful and longer-ranged S-25 and S-24 rockets. In contrast, the A-10 can unload almost twice as much dumb bombs and precision-guided bombs. The Su-25 is more agile and can escape from enemy missiles. The Su-25's missiles, the R-60 and K-13, are inferior to the A-10's AIM-9 Sidewinder and AGM Maverick. However, the Su-25 can carry a...
Okay, so they just confused all sorts of air-to-air and air-to-ground ordnance up there and didn't even really differentiate it, okay? Sidewinders are not air-to-ground missiles. Sidewinders are short-range air-to-air self-defense missiles, and comparing them to Mavericks, the AGM-65, which is a standoff attack missile, is asinine. Like, they're not the same purpose, and talking about the Su-25's different comment, it's just stupid the way this guy combines stuff that has nothing to do with each other, and he's pissing me off.
Pair of R-73 or active homing medium-ranged R-77 missiles on the outer pylons.
The R-77 is what we call the AA-12. Here's the rub. The R-77 or the AA-12 needs a radar in the aircraft to lock, paint, and designate a target for the AA-12 to fire on. Su-25 doesn't have a radar. So yeah, you can throw those things on the wingtips, I guess, or on the hard points, but you can't shoot them at anything without a fire control interception radar in the nose of your airplane.
So, what do you think? Which aircraft is better? America's A-10 Warthog or Russia's Su-25 Frogfoot? Let us know in the comments section. Also, be sure to check out our other military videos.
Your military videos are a joke.
As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Do not like, share, or subscribe this guy's videos. Alright, so I was brutal on that, but because I really want you guys to understand, there's a lot of information in the world. There's a lot of people who are armchair generals who think they know a lot of stuff because they read magazines or they, I don't know, watch videos on the internet. But the thing is, people don't care how much misinformation they feed you as long as you click like and subscribe and watch their videos. And I don't even know. But listen, this was a light one in terms of all the stuff that was wrong. And I even kept my mouth shut a couple times where I wanted to speak up, and I was just like, I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna let this go. There are things that are classified that I can't speak of, that I can't talk about. There are things that I have learned that I cannot put out there. There are things that I know from official sources that are not classified that I can correct. There are things that it's hard to tell. You know, I know that when you guys that when civilians want to go look, you know, there's like all these first of all, Wikipedia is the worst source of information for anything. Because anybody can change it. Anyone can change it. Anybody can put something on Wikipedia. So when we have a brand new controller that's learning how to give briefings, they're the kind of people that brief us things like, well, the wingspan is this, and the height of the tail is this, and its maximum speed at 45,000 feet is this, and I'm like, dude, shut your face. Where'd you get all that? Wikipedia, you're a moron. Fairly good sites if you want to research. FAS.org, globalsecurity.org, AUS Air Power, I think it's .org, it might be .com, I don't know. .orgs are good sites for research. .coms, even people that don't mean to give out misinformation, stuff that's released to the public often is not correct. Intentionally is not correct. We know a whole lot more about bad guy stuff than we are willing to admit. And we are willing to put out stuff that is wrong to hide from knowing the stuff that is right, if that makes sense. And the military is not always so open to correct videos like this that have such wrong stuff, because they're okay with people not knowing the real deal about things, you know? It drives me crazy when I see stuff like that, only because I know there are true, like, real fans of aviation, or weapon systems, tanks, whatever, that want to have real discussions about stuff and really get into it, and they have sources like that with people making up weapon systems or people making up electronic systems or just bullshitting their way through it. You know, I mean, trying to pass off one of those Barnes and Nobles, you know, discount books about some guy wrote All the World's Aircraft Volume 16, you know, and so they're trying to make a quick buck on a video anyway. So this was, like I said, my reaction to that video was requested, and my reaction to that video was, are you fucking kidding me? Maybe some of you don't think it's a big deal, and that's cool too. You know, a lot of people are just like, whatever, let it go. But if somebody's asking for my honest knowledge and opinion on this stuff, I'm going to give it to you. This was my thing, getting hauled into a little room with a giant map table and told, these are the objectives, these are the parameters, what resources do you need to pull this off? And now, especially, I was the doom and gloom guy. It was, all right, how are we going to die? What is going to go wrong? And what do we need to plan for to make it not happen? That was always my thing. They always said, now tell us how this plan's going to fall apart and what we can do to mitigate that. And I would come up with some crazy, like, you know, all right, let's start at the very beginning. What if two of our aircraft smash together, you know, on takeoff, and now we're shorthanded? How are we gonna do it with less jets? Okay, now let's do, what if the tanker doesn't show up and blah blah blah, and we can't refuel? Okay, now let's go through, and in mission planning we always go through these. I mean, these worst case scenarios. We always end up with the everything goes right, the most likely, and then the worst case scenario. And you roll out the door expecting the most likely. You hope for that everything goes right, but you're prepared for the worst case. And knowing what the aircraft can actually do is the basis of that. Not, well, you know, we know that it's got a service ceiling of 45,000 feet. Well, no, but no A-10 pilot wants to take his plane to 45,000 feet because it performs like shit and it can't do its job. A-10 pilot wants to fly his plane, you know, transit at this altitude block, then get down and be able to use terrain for terrain masking and flying nap of the earth when hitting its targets, and then wants to refuel in this altitude block, and then do, you know, like, you gotta know all this stuff. And for some bozo to just put it out there, and I don't know. That's my reaction. I don't know, was this boring? Did you guys not like this? Did you like this? Do you care? If you don't care, say you don't care. You can say I don't care in the comments, and we'll tally up the I don't cares. If you did care, if you thought it was cool, if you'd like to see me do another one, pick a video. I'll do it. But anyway, there it is, guys. Worst military movie in terms of accuracy I could think of off the top of my head, Iron Eagle. But at the same time, I guilty pleasure love Iron Eagle. So who sent me this didn't say they wanted to be identified publicly, so I won't. But you know who you are. I hope this made you very, very happy. I hope the rest of you guys are happy. You all are absolutely awesome. I appreciate every single one of you. A little something different this time. And I'll be back again real soon.